Hey 317ers, I am going to do some problems from worksheet 6 with you guys tonight. So hopefully you guys are currently working on worksheet 6 and I can join you. The first one I'm choosing to do is number 10. We are just solving our equation. There's a lot going on with this equation because what we need to do is get everything to the same side. So let's see, since there's more x squareds over on the right side, I'm actually going to move everything to the right. This is going to keep everything positive. So I'm going to actually do a couple steps in one. I'm going to subtract over the 2x squared. I'm going to subtract over the 4x. I'm going to add over the 1. So I have nothing left on the left side. On the right side I have a 5x squared minus 11x plus 2. So at this point I need to factor or do the quadratic formula or complete the square with the right-hand side of my equation. I always try to factor first. Now guys, when you get a little bit more advanced with your factoring, okay, you want to start to move towards guess and check. So I know that I have to get a 5x squared in my first position. In order to do that, the only way to do that is to have a 5x and an x in your first positions. Oh, sorry, my Bachelor in Paradise just came back on. Okay, I paused it again. Anyway, my first position needs to be a 5x, boom, and an x, boom, because when I multiply those together, 5x times x is 5x squared. So that's how I know I need those in my first position when I factor. Now this 2 needs to be what I multiply my numbers to. So I'm going to guess that the 2 goes here and the 1 goes here. And the reason I guess that is I know that I'm going to have to multiply my outsides. 5 times 2 is 10. Those are my outsides. My insides, 1 times 1 is 1, and 10 and 1 will add to negative 11. So there's a lot going on that I just said, but that's the moral of the story with when you're factoring. You just got to figure out when you have your pluses and your minuses. Let's see. I actually want both of these to be a minus. That way, if I FOIL this back out, I end up with a minus 10x minus 1, giving me a negative 11 in my middle term. So here's your factors. And don't forget, we're still solving. So now I have to take each factor, set it equal to 0. 5x minus 1 equals 0, x minus 2 equals 0. So solving this, guys, add over 1. 5x equals 1. Divide by 5. Whoopsies. Okay, we got x equals 1/5. That's one of your answers. Next part, add the 2. We get x equals 2. There's your 2 answers, and let's go on. So I know we talked about this in class. I just want to reiterate. Make sure that you simplify these before you multiply them together, because the negatives sometimes weird things start to happen. So here I know I have a negative, which means I will have an I in my answer. I just like to break down the number. 4 times 2 is 8. Square root of 4 would be 2, but I have to leave the square root of 2 as a root 2. But hey, don't forget the fact that we had this negative. So your first guy is a 2i root 2. The I comes from the fact that there's a negative under the root. Next one. Square root of negative 6. Guess what? I can't break down negative 6. Or just 6, I mean. Because 2 times 3, 2 times 3 is 6, but both of these don't square root nicely. Therefore, I can't break down square root 6 anymore. I just want to pull out the negative. So this is just I root 6. That negative just turns into an I. So far, I have 2i root 2 times I root 6. And finally, I also cannot break down this 3, but I do want to pull out the I times I root 3. Now I multiply everything together. I multiply my outsides. 2 times I times I times I. That's 2i cubed. Now I multiply together root 2 times root 6 times root 3. And I get root, what do you know? I get root 36. So there's some more I can do here. This I root 3, remember I root 3 is equal to negative I. So this is times negative I, 2 times negative I, which would just be negative 2I, times, well, square root of 36, guys, is just 6. Final answer is just going to be negative 12I. All I did with that last step was multiply my negative 2 and my 6. So that was number 15. And let's keep going. Now I got number 27. This one asks me to complete the square. Okay, completing the square, guys, I need to get my x terms on one side, my constant on the other side. So I'm going to add over 9x, and I have a 3x squared plus 9x, and I'm going to say it equals 3. Now, this is one where since I have a leading coefficient, I need to factor that leading coefficient out. So I'm going to factor out a 3, and I'm left over with an x squared plus 3x plus blank space equals 3 plus blank space. Again, the reason I had to do that step was because I had a leading coefficient. I needed to factor it out. Now I look at my middle term, and I'm going to divide it by 2, and I'm going to square it. So I'm going to do that up here where I just drew the star. So I'm going to take my 3, divide it by 2, circle it, square it. Okay, so 3 squared will be 9. 2 squared on that denominator is 4. So I have to add in a 9 over 4. Now on my right-hand side, okay, I actually have to multiply this 9 over 4 times this 3, and that's what's going to go on my other side. So just kind of on the side again, 3 times 9 over 4 is 27 over 4. Just multiply 3 times 9. I know, guys, I know these are not ideal numbers, but that's life, and we're going to go with it. So, left-hand side, I still have my 3, and I'm going to rewrite my parentheses as x plus 3 over 2. That's from what I circled up here. Okay, quantity squared equals, another fun part is adding together my right side. So 3, you want to get a common denominator. So 3 is 12 over 4. So we have a 12 over 4 plus 27 over 4. So we have a 39 over 4. I know that this is not the most ideal numbers that we're dealing with, but it's okay. Okay, this is kind of awkward, but I'm just going to shrink that part. We're getting there, guys. Let's divide this by 3. How do I divide 39 over 4 by 3? Let's multiply by 1/3. Same thing. So we have a 39 over 12 on the right-hand side. So here I'm left with an x plus 3 over 2 squared equals 39 over 12. So I'm going to do something kind of fancy here, make my life a little bit easier. 39 over 12 reduces to 13 over 4. Okay, so I can square root both sides. Square root your numerator and denominator. Oh boy, we get x plus 3 over 2 equals plus or minus root 13, square root of 4 is 2. Lord, this is a crazy problem, isn't it? We're almost there, guys. Now we subtract over the 3 over 2. Whew, final answer. Negative 3 over 2 plus or minus root 13 over 2. And that is it. I prefer for you to write your answer like so. X equals negative 3 plus or minus root 13 all over 2. That's crazy. It's a crazy fun problem. I would say something similar could be on the test, but maybe not this crazy hard. Not that this was that bad, but it's just a lot of work and it takes a long time. That took me 5 minutes to talk through. We're going to move on, though. We're going to keep going. Let's truck through. I have chosen to do a couple easy problems. Guys, please don't overthink these. I am just dividing both sides here by 5. I'm getting my x squared by myself. The idea here is to isolate x all the way. Okay? I get x squared equals 20. Square root both sides. We get x equals plus or minus. And reduce this guy. 4 times 5 would be 20. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 5 is, I don't know. You leave it. X is plus or minus 2 root 5. Okay, a lot of people got ones like number 39 wrong on the quiz. So I want to make sure that we are understanding how to do that. So I am actually trying to isolate this x plus 1 quantity squared. That's my first goal, is to isolate that. So I am subtracting over a 4. I am then dividing by 3. Why can't I distribute that 3? Because this quantity is squared. You cannot distribute that 3. Okay. So now I have an x plus 1 quantity squared equals 6. Square root, square root. Let's see, we get x plus 1 equals plus or minus root 6. Just subtract that 1 over. So I get x equals negative 1 plus or minus root 6. Donezo. I did both those problems in less than 2 minutes. Let's keep going. 41 was weird. I would try to get rid of these fractions right away. You can do that by multiplying every single thing you see here by 10. So my 10 will cancel with the first fraction, totally cancel out, and I'm left with just an x squared, minus this 10 and 5 will cancel, but there will still be 2 left over on top, because 10 divided by 5 is 2. So I have a minus 2x plus 10 times 2 is just 20. Okay, kind of a nice problem here. So if I try to factor this, it's not going to come out pretty, unfortunately. The things that multiply to 20 are 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5, and that's it. And none of those are going to add to negative 2. So you got to do quadratic formula. X equals opposite b, so that's positive 2, plus or minus the square root, b squared, minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a is 1, so it's just over 2. All right, let's see, what do we get? We get 2 plus or minus, this guy is going to be 4. 4 times 20 is going to be a minus 80. 4 minus 80 would be a negative 76. Whew, all over 2. Almost there. We got to break down this 76, which is 4 times 19. This is negative, so there will be an I involved. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 19 is I don't know. So I get 2 plus or minus, square root of 4 is 2. I have an I, root 19, all over 2. And now I can divide this by 2, this by 2, this by 2. I get all 1s. So I have a 1 plus or minus 1i, or just I, root 19, all over 1, so we can just leave it. Crazy. Now, last but not least, and then I have one little extra problem to talk about. We have one like this. Guys, this is from your quiz. I purposely picked this because it was one of the most missed. It's already factored. All you do is set equal to 0. Divide both sides here by 6. Okay, I get x equals 0. 0 divided by 6 is just 0. Set 2x minus 3 equal to 0. Add over 3, we get 2x equals 3. Divide by 2, we get x equals 3 halves. Please don't overthink that one. Moving on. Sorry, last but not least at all, this is an extra example. It was not on your worksheet, but obviously I'm going over this for a very important reason. If I give you guys roots or solutions, you should be able to write an equation from that. So here's what I mean. If I know that a solution is x equals 5, then as a factor, it had to have been x minus 5. Because then I would have set that equal to 0 and gotten x equals positive 5. Similarly, my factor for negative 2 here would be x plus 2. So when I give you the solutions, you are basically working backwards, and all you need to do is now FOIL. X times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. Minus 5x. Minus 10. Combine your like terms, you get x squared minus 3x minus 10 equals 0. And that's what this question's asking you for. So take note of this. It's a quick example, but it's important to know for tomorrow. So that's everything. I know this is a long video, but I thought this would help you guys. I hope it does. Sorry about my Bachelor in Paradise outbursts, but I can't help myself. Have a good night. Bye.